practically middle-aged.
The sheriff calls us outlaws.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to episode 22 of the Extreme Middle-Aged Outlaws podcast. We are taking a break, thankfully, from WCW. Adam's delighted, and we're getting extreme. Last time, you did an awesome impression, Adam. What are we getting?
Extreme!
Oh, yes!
Was that any better?
That was better. You've been practicing.
I feel like I've got a bit of a cold. Maybe that helps.
Again, one more time. We're getting
extreme.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Love
I should
that.
try to have a cold every 6 weeks or something like that. Yeah,
4 times a year. Let me know next time you've got a cold and we could just have a wee telephone call. Anyway, for that Sean Dyke sort of vibe that you've got going on. I like it.
yeah.
Here we are in May. I feel like I've been saying we've been in March 1998 for quite some time. We're in May. And we are in Cobb County, Georgia. Did you notice it?
I didn't.
Did you not?
No, I just
the home of the big
associate
boss
it-
man.
Yeah, that's it's the only name that comes to mind. And I missed that. I didn't know if it was referenced during the show or not, but surely they gave a shout out to him.
They didn't. It's disgusting, really.
Oh.
But I tell you what, Adam, and I've just thought this just now. We're in Cobb County, Georgia, and boy, are we in for some hard times. Because this show sucks balls.
It's not their best.
It's ECW Wrestlepalooza 1998. It's their second pay-per-view showing of the year. We really enjoyed the last one, which I don't remember what it was. Was it Guilty as Charged, maybe? No, Living Dangerously.
Living Dangerously, yeah.
It was a great show. Finished with... It was a tag team match was the main event, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
And we've probably got almost the exact same guys wrestling on this show that we did the last show, but we've got the tinkering hands of Paul Heyman in here very clearly on the booking, and it doesn't come off the best for it, does it?
Yeah, we've had this before certainly with the WCW shows, where you get one that you really like and you get the enthusiasm for what's next. But this had a little bit of a similar feel, because I went into this thinking this is going to be good. Enjoyed the last one. This will be fun. It's just nowhere near as good as the last one. And it's like you say, there's so many of the same performers on it. You kind of think to yourself, well, how did it go so wrong? But I suppose we might figure that out as we talk through.
True. Cool. So we jump in to our very first match then.
Yeah, let's go for it.
So we start off with our crowd heaters that we had starting off the last one. I think it's a good idea. We start off with the FBI.
Yeah.
We've got little Guido and Tracy Smothers, who's definitely now getting in the top 10 of the greatest wrestlers that we've ever discussed on this podcast. Versus the Blue World. Do they call themselves the Blue World Order, or is it just the BWO?
I just remember hearing BWO. It's weird with the BWO, because they're kind of referenced as guys that have been around a while in ECW but not given their chance. I think that's kind of reference. So I wasn't sure if this was their first pay-per-view appearance.
It seemed like that's what they were trying to get at. We've got Supernova here, who I've never heard of before. I think he went by Nova, possibly in WCW for a period.
Yeah.
And the Blue Meanie, of course, JBL's best mate. The Blue Meanie. I actually thought Supernova might have been Stevie Richards for a little while, but apparently not. Excuse me. Just before we get into action, classic behaviour. This Tracy Smothers guy's amazing. He just doesn't stop moving. It's like they switch him on before he goes out, and he just. I like the whole fake Italian stuff, and Joey Styles says, "Give me a break, these guys." These guys think an innuendo is an Italian suppository, which I loved.
Yeah, I mean it's quite cheap, but it is good. It's funny. I always think he's out there. He's doing the show on his own, and I kind of wonder at times is he trying to keep himself entertained? Because that was pretty good.
As far as I know, and I've not looked into this a lot, but he was like quite a well thought of wrestler within the NWA promotions earlier on in his career. But is this what you become, Tracy? Well, I quite enjoy it, to be honest. So it's a get the crowd going. This is it's almost like a house show match, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole, there's like a dance contest thing going on at the start, and that has a very house show feel
the
to
referee gets involved in that as well.
Yeah, I've put in my notes for the ref doing it that his dancing's awesome, and it's basically how I dance. It's there's part of me just thinks, why is this happening? But it's the opening match on the card. I think it almost has like a dark match feel to it.
It does.
And they're just trying to, I think, get the crowd going and entertain people. It's probably not going to be the best match you've ever seen in your life, and I think just a few elements to keep the entertainment value there.
Aye, there's a point in time where the referee's body slamming people. It's really odd. Never seen anything quite like it. Like a wrestling match does break out at some point. Nova hits some quite impressive sort of high flying moves, and the Blue Meanie hits a meanie salt. I think they describe it as. He hits a moonsault, which is quite, or he doesn't hit it.
Yeah, he misses
he
it.
misses it. I was quite impressed with that though.
Yeah, it was impressive he was able to go for it. Yeah, I mean, there's there was one thing that surprised me during this early on, because the FBI, they're kind of hamming things up, and there's a sequence where they basically miss every move they go for, but the fans start chanting ECW for that, and I was thinking, is this what the fans want to see here? But I mean, if they're reacting to it, then all good. That's what you want, is a reaction.
That's it, exactly. There's not really much. I think this finishes. Does this finish the same as the last one, or one of the FBI tries to hit another one with the Italian flag that they've got?
Yeah.
Misses, hits their own guy, and Nova hits some sort of facebuster type maneuver and gets the win for the BWO. Yeah,
I think it was pretty similar to their last match finish. They're always playing up the fact that there's a little bit of dissension there, and there's a miscommunication, and because they're playing these, Italians that kind of overreact to everything, you're getting quite big reactions on the miscommunications and the fallout after it and things like that. It doesn't really feel like it's going anywhere too significant in terms of where they're positioned on the card, but I think it's basically just where they're at, really.
They're fully blooded Italians.
Yeah, they certainly are.
You get what's being advertised, and that's more than you can say for a lot of Vince McMahon's productions. So,
true.
Congratulations to Blue Meanie on making his pay-per-view debut. I was struck by how the Blue Meanie looks with his belly top and his blue hair. I feel like that's a gimmick that I'm surprised WWE haven't pulled out now, like a kind of left-leaning body. Oh, never mind. I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's probably quite dangerous territory. So I'm going to move on. We get our second match, the pay-per-view, is a continuation of a story that we saw the last time we saw ECW, which is Just Incredible and Mikey Whipwreck. Just Incredible had put Mikey Whipwreck out of commission. He'd done a lot of damage to his leg. And at the last pay-per-view, we reviewed Just Incredible. I want to say he was wrestling Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right.
And Whipwreck came in and nearly exposed Nicole Bass.
Yeah.
Who was missing for this pay-per-view? I was pretty disappointed. Replaced with some horrible-looking person.
Chastity?
Chastity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a new one to me.
She got what was coming to her. So there's a sort of, they tried to build up this sort of heated rivalry for us, which I don't know if you were buying or no. Mikey Whipwreck kind of plays that underdog type character, doesn't he?
Yeah, I quite like what they're showing from the Just Incredible character, in that, you know, he's this guy that was intentionally injuring people to move himself up the card, basically. They do some hints that he is certainly in with the likes of Kevin Nash, and he's using the NWO catchphrases. I think that's on the Hardcore TV before the pay-per-view.
Right.
And that's, you know, just getting heat, basically. And at least he sort of has a character. He sort of has this heel persona where he will do whatever it takes to get to where he wants, and he believes he should be at the top of the card. I didn't have a lot of past knowledge of Mikey Whipwreck. I know kind of the background of him being, I think he was like ring crew or something like that.
Oh, really?
When he first joined, and he would, bounce around in the ring and things like that. And I think Paul Heyman ended up using him as a jobber, and realised he could basically take a beating better than anyone he'd ever seen, and that the crowd started sympathising with it. And he'd basically have these matches where he had no offensive moves, but the crowd were kind of getting behind him because he was selling his beating so well. And, you know, it's one of those where the comeback's never coming because he's a jobber. And then they started, you know, letting him have little bits and pieces of offense here and there, and the crowd would go mad for it, just to see him fighting back. And I think he became a little bit of a, you know, it would probably will never work in ECW, but a little bit of that kind of, you know, underdog hero, who was unlikely to ever achieve huge things. Although I think he did get a push at some point.
Right.
So yeah, he's basically, he's got quite an interesting story. And then he's obviously gone into this situation. Was it I don't know if it was a legitimate injury he was coming back from. And they've got this heel. They're kind of a good match in that sense, because you've got Just Incredible, who likes to injure people and is injured Mikey Whipwreck, and he's already got that crowd sympathy element.
Yeah.
It did feel while I was watching it that Just Incredible maybe could have been used a little higher up the card, because he's got quite a lot about him, actually.
Aye. I think Just Incredible does get there. I think into next year, and I think he eventually ends up as a kind of your main ECW champion, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Aye, this is an interesting match. From like in my head, I had Mikey Whipwreck as a kind of the same size as Spike Dudley, if not smaller, type of guy. But these two looked about the same size. Yeah, I was quite surprised by that.
Yeah, I don't think he certainly never as small as Spike, and it's maybe just the kind of role he's been in, where he has been that guy who's always been the underdog.
Aye. So some of the action in the match, I'm going to jump straight to the suplex off the guardrail. Okay. How that was? I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
They had a wee table set up. Just Incredible is on one side of the guardrail. Whipwreck climbs up. They give it the heave-ho, like 1, 2, it's still not going. Mikey Whipwreck says, fuck it, and just pulls him over. It's quite impressive.
Yeah, I was watching it thinking, I mean, I've not been that helpful to myself in my notes, because I've just wrote, Mikey stood in the guardrail and suplex Just Incredible through a table that had been set up. That was really cool. You know, I'm not giving myself an awful lot to work with.
Factual information.
But I do remember thinking how, like, risky it was and how good timing had to be and all that for it not to go just look a bit stupid. And it didn't. It actually looked pretty good the way they executed that.
It definitely did. It was one of the ones where they just, like I say, they just go for it, and you think if he slips on that guardrail or whatever, it's disaster. And they look like they're wrestling on concrete floor as well, and outside.
Yeah.
And they've got the blue mats to cushion the bumps.
Yeah, they wouldn't allow that in ECW.
Nah. Like we get, although Whipwreck gets that move in, the rest of the match is basically just incredible. Going to town on him.
Yeah.
Until Mikey gets his massive babyface comeback on the go, and Joey Styles been talking up the whippersnapper. I think he says he beat Stone Cold to win to take his stunner move.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah, it's something like that gets said, and I was thinking, wow.
Like I know Austin was in ECW for a while.
Yeah, and I actually think they gave him a win over Stone Cold, but I don't think it was for the move. But yeah, I think because Austin only actually wrestled a few times, I think, in ECW.
He was more cutting the promos, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I don't think he was at that point in his career all that bothered about whether he was going to go there and win matches. So I'm pretty sure they gave him the win. But is it the whippersnapper? Is that what you said they call it?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is just a stunner.
Yeah.
And we've got the poor Mikey, the numbers game. He's just not going to win this one.
No, you're saying poor Mikey, Adam, but he hits it on Just Incredible.
Yep.
Good. Then the most handsome man in the world, or whatever the hell they're billing this Jason guy as, he gets in the ring and takes one. Did he need to take Chastity up on the top rope and do it?
He had no choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as we know, and as far as he knew, that's a fan that's jumped in the ring, because where the hell did she come from?
True. It could have been Nicole Bass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Questionable if Mikey Whipwreck would have got her up there, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
He hits the whippersnapper on Chastity from the top rope, and wouldn't you know it, out of nowhere, just incredible, hits another rip-off of a WWF top guy's finishing move, some sort of spinning tombstone on a chair.
Yeah.
And sticks Mikey away. The crowd are not happy.
Yeah, I've written in my notes here that I was really worried on the move that Mikey wasn't going to tuck his head in, and it was just the way it looked. So I'm watching the move, and I'm thinking, for this to be safe, he has to tuck his head in. And it looks like he does it at the very last second. And I just got that feeling of, oh no, this could go very, very wrong. And it's maybe just the way he does it, but I got nervous watching that.
Never a fan of that.
No.
What was that move that Sugar Shane, was it Vertebreaker, we spoke about before?
Yeah.
Where the guy basically lands in the back of their neck, but they tuck their heads in it. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
So next up, we get a little sort of cameo appearance from Balls Mahoney and Axl Rotten. They appear next to Joey Styles. I always want to call him Jerry Styles. Joey Styles. They start calling out tag team champions, and that's enough for there to be an ECW tag team title match. We know, certainly from the last time that we've visited ECW, that the tag team champions, Chris Candido and Lance Storm, do not get on with each other.
Yeah.
They are not fans of one another. Typically, this is all related to Sonny in some way or another. But Paul Heyman has said that they basically kind of screw each other out of losing the titles.
Yeah.
If they do, whoever's done the screwing will be fired.
Yep.
So we get Balls and Axel calling them out for a match. Candido does this thing where they come out together and then he walks back and says, "I want my music played." And then does this. Candido looks like a badass, and then he does that weird strut thing that he does, and he just loses all sort of aura that he's got.
Yeah, there's something about him. See, when he's having a tantrum, which he does quite a lot. He oversells his fury, and it's really funny. It just makes me laugh. But he is like this really jacked up. I mean, he's not tall, but he's really jacked up. And it does just kind of lose everything. I don't know if that's intentional, and if it is, they've played it really well. But yeah, his overselling, I find it really entertaining. I always thought, I can't remember he was in like a tag team in WWF. Was it like the Body Donners or something like that?
I think you're right.
And I just remember thinking that this is just a guy, he's not ever going to be anything, but he's got something really entertaining about him.
He definitely has. Do you know when he died? Like where did he go after ECW? Do you know? No. No.
I'm not sure. I think I'm just going to have a quick look because otherwise it'll drive me a bit mad.
Cool.
Okay, so he had a little run in WCW, year 2000, and then Independence, and he actually showed up in TNA in 2005.
Wow.
But he died in April 2005.
Oh, really?
Was it him? Was he the guy that died when he went on a plane journey, and he had so he had pneumonia, he had he got a blood clot.
Oh, fucking hell. That's horrible.
Yeah. And then he got pneumonia. That was it. So yeah, he'd flown or something like that, and then became ill after the flight, and he'd developed a blood clot. Just really sad.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, he's, like I was saying before, he's one of these guys that I think maybe ECW was just the right fit for him at the right time, because they were putting him in a fairly prominent role, and kind of letting his personality be out there. Whereas I think when I'd seen him in WWF, he didn't really come across as having a personality.
Like you say, just a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, they put him in a team called the Body Donners, but I actually got written here, Candido is brilliant in the ring. And then I wrote all four, actually.
Yeah.
Like, unbelievably, I've actually written down here, this is the best tag match that we've reviewed in 1998.
Okay.
Don't know if you agree or no. I couldn't actually, we've been subject to some shite with Outlaws versus the Legion of Doom, although that WrestleMania 14 match was pretty good, the dumpster match.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
But as far as like a proper in-ring wrestling match, which is not what you expected to get from Balls Mahoney and Axel Rotten, this was really good.
Yeah, I think when you name a team the Hardcore Chair Swinging Freaks, it probably lowers the expectation a little bit.
Maybe that's what it was.
But no, this was good, and it had that, there's the two teams against each other, but there's the other story of what is going on within one of the teams.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of waiting for the miscommunication or the issue to arise in match. And something's going to happen, but you don't know when. And I think having that story element to it, and I was thinking back to this, if you're Lance Storm or if you're Chris Candido, if you do get fired, you're probably just going to get a job at another company. And I was thinking, is that a realistic threat from Paul Heyman to be making? But there is sort of that jeopardy of one guy can't just do something. There has to be a reason behind it and all that. And in ring was a lot better than I expected when I saw what the matchup was going to be.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's Axel Rotten and Candido to start off in it, and just immediately they start one of these, like it's what we've talked about before in ECW, where you get like a Guerrero Benoit or something like that, and they do all this sort of chain wrestling and all that. We started off with something like that. It was brilliant. Mm-hmm. It does spell to the outside. Axel Rotten, I've got here that he hits a dive over the top rope, but it's more like he just sort of catapults his body and just sees what happens.
Yeah.
But it's quite impressive. At one point, Storm starts doing the old knife edge chops, and the crowd break into a pretty vocal chant of "Free Ric Flair." Did you hear that?
Yeah.
This must be. So I think this is at the time when Flair was being sued by Eric Bischoff for not turning up to an episode of Thunder or something like that.
Yeah.
And they've throughout this show they keep talking about being in enemy territory. They're obviously in Atlanta, it's in WCW territory. So
yeah,
and there's more reference made to that later on.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have the one. I know I'm saying it's a really good wrestling match, but I didn't actually have that many notes on it. But the one big move that I loved in this match, Storm hits a springboard dropkick from one end of the ring to the other. It's incredible.
Yeah. It's really impressive. He was always very good in ring, and I remember that being a thing. And I don't know if the likes of WWF, WCW didn't really know how to take advantage of that. He was maybe... Because you look at certainly a lot of the guys that are in WWF within the couple of years after this, and I think we talked about the same thing with the likes of Owen Hart, and I don't think he's on the level of Owen Hart, but he could have gone in the ring and had very good matches with a lot of the guys that are going to become pretty prominent. He was maybe just slight wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, I'm just looking at Lance Storm's Wikipedia page because I totally agree. And I think he could have got by, like on that Broken Skull sessions that Austin has with Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
There's a point in it where he says that he said he would get over based on his matches where he went through that period of just wrestling for the Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't really matter about what's happened storyline or personality, character-wise. He would get over with his matches.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Storm would fit into that sort of role.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at his accolades. He went to WCW in 2000. He won the US title, Cruiserweight title, Hardcore Championship. I don't remember that being WCW. He was tag team champions with Christian when they were the Un-Americans.
Oh, yeah.
And
the Un-Americans.
The Un-Americans. Test as well, maybe, in that group. And William Regal.
Wow.
And he was Intercontinental champion as well during the invasion angle. He
had an okay run then. I know he's been involved as like an agent and a trainer and things like that as well. But yeah, I always remember thinking he was good in ring. And at times, what was his cat? Was it like, if I can be serious for a moment or something like that?
Serious for a minute, aye.
Yeah, and that kind of worked, because that he's not got all of the verbal charisma and stuff like that. So that worked, but it all felt a little bit short-lived.
It definitely did. I'd like to see more, and I'm enjoying seeing him in this. Although it's all very quite story heavy, but when he's getting a chance to do some of these moves, it's impressive.
Yeah, I quite like. There's a point in this match where Candido's getting a bit frustrated, and he gets in the ring, tags Lance Storm's hand, and then throws Lance Storm out through the ropes to the floor. And it just, there's little bits like that just kind of got me. Like, I just started laughing when I saw that happen.
He climbed in the ring, tagged him on the back.
Yeah.
I mean, this is ECW.
Yeah.
And a similar thing with the finish. Storm hits that incredible dropkick across the ring, pins. Pins balls Mahoney. He gets the 1-2. Candido picks him up, throws him at the ring, and then he gets the 1-2-3 for himself.
Yeah. So
they retain the titles, and we'll see where that takes us.
Yeah.
Quite a good wee storyline. A little bit not similar to what we had with the Steiners, but a different version of it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Heel version of it.
Yeah, definitely one of the better matches on the card.
Yeah, absolutely. So we mentioned we're in Georgia, and they're talking about being in enemy territory. They take a little bit of time out to give some flowers to some legends. We get the Junkyard Dog being introduced to the crowd. I liked the way that he was working the crowd and all that. That's quite good.
Yep.
Dirty Dick Slater, who sounds like an EastEnders character.
It wasn't a name that meant anything to me, I've got to say.
The Masked Superstar. You up on your Masked Superstar knowledge, Adam?
I'm not, I'm afraid.
You know?
No.
I'll drop some knowledge on you. I think he was the member of Demolition who then became Repo Man.
Ah, okay.
I think that's who that is. Right. And then we got Bullet Bob Armstrong as well, who literally walked down, climbed in the ring, shook hands, and then walked back out again.
Yeah.
But might got suck it from him or something like that.
I think the reference, he's got loads of kids that are in wrestling or something like that.
Did he?
Sure they mentioned it, yeah.
He's clearly not suffering from the Armstrong curse.
No.
Unlike his one son that seemed to just get booked against Goldberg every week on Nitro for a while. So, we've just given our flowers to our legends, given them the ovation from the crowd. What would you say, from a storyline point of view, is a really good way to follow this up?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be a promo by Shane Douglas.
Shitting all over everything.
I mean, it felt really weird. This is the point where I wasn't sure exactly what the plan was. Yeah, I mean, they have Shane Douglas come out for I think they say it's like a unexpected promo. It's supposed to be a surprise promo that he's coming out. He's kind of shitting on what wrestling is. This was weird, and I know he's legitimately injured here because he is about to go away for a little while. He's talking about he started when this was a sport, not entertainment. He's talking about the early days when, real men fought through injuries. These days, I think he says something like, these days a guy stubs a toe and takes time off. He talks about his time in WWF and Shawn Michaels forfeiting the Intercontinental title?
Yeah, it was after he'd had that, there was the barroom brawl he'd had with was it Navy SEALs or something like that?
Yeah.
He dropped the title.
And he says that's when he knew that title meant nothing. He calls out...
I tell you, he never saw like the mid-2000s, or no, mid-2010s then.
Yeah.
And the Miz held it for 20 years.
He calls out Ric Flair, calling him Dick Flair. Although he seems to be... I was pretty sure you were right in what was going on with Flair and Bischoff. But he talks about Flair, I think the exact words are, sucking Bischoff's ass. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really confusing, right? Because at the outset, start again. On the ECW Hardcore TV before this, they basically dedicate 90% of the programme to Shane Douglas. They show the footage of him throwing down the NWA title and denouncing it, and shooting on Ric Flair again, and basically kicking off ECW as it's then known.
Yeah.
They start off the programme with another package about Shane Douglas, and then they give him this opportunity, and they're talking through all these injuries that he's got, and I think you said to me on text, it's like they're trying to build him up to be like this ultimate babyface.
Yeah.
But he's a heel, and he's the leader of the big heel faction. They're in Atlanta, they're in Georgia, which is the home of WCW traditionally, and he starts shitting on Flair. And it's really confusing.
Yeah, he actually... The crowd react badly when he starts having a go at Flair, and he says they can boo him all they want. He doesn't like that old son of a bitch. And I am really confused about, because it feels like what they've done, or what they're doing here, and what they're about to do, is really stack the deck against him, give him every reason to lose later on, and we'll get into that when we come to it later. And as I say, I'm not one for going too far with the research, but he's legitimately injured. So after this event, he needs to go away for a little bit because he needs to have a surgery. It feels like they are potentially building them up to say, well, we don't know if and when this guy's coming back, so let's have him go out on a high, and then he's just going out and shitting on everything that the crowd love.
And then they have Taz interrupt him and confront him, and he basically say, he references what he said about Shawn Michaels giving up the title. He's saying, if you're injured, give me the title. And, he's either saying, give me the opportunity to fight for the title, or give me the title if you can't defend it. And Douglas basically shirks his way out the fight. Mm-hmm. He tries to get out the fight. Taz slaps on the Taz mission. We get Bam Bam Bigelow, the Heater, coming out to help him. And Taz, I've got here, Taz seems to have been arrested.
Yeah.
But by gentlemen that are just working security in the building. This had shades of Austin getting arrested multiple times that we've seen before, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's... I get that, by 98, I think, WWF had fully changed direction. It was more of a, there's shades of grey. There's no such thing as a completely good person. There's no such thing as a completely bad person. But, I mean, the shades are getting pretty murky here, because I have no idea whether Douglas is going into the main event later on as a babyface or as a heel. And I don't really know what Taz is meant to be at this point either, because all logic would tell you babyface, but then, he's going after an injured guy, saying he should just be handed the belt and all that, so I don't know.
I like Taz's promos. Is it just me, or, so I see Taz now working in AEW, obviously he's great on the mic. I think we spoke about him at that last pay-per-view that we reviewed, the ECW one, that he was also great. I remember we spoke about, we never saw this Taz.
Yeah.
Until he obviously became a caricature from, with his New York accent on SmackDown commentary. They never really let him cut promos, did they?
No, I mean, I remember when he came in, he wasn't speaking at all. So he was when he had his debut against Angle, and he went in and choked him out and all that. I remember it was like a all business, just go in, get the job done, walk away. Mm-hmm. They were going for that kind of character. And it seems like it's, you hear McMahon driving these things at times, apparently didn't want Austin speaking for, when he was first brought in as the ringmaster or whatever it was, which is why he put Ted DiBiase with him. He's got a few of these calls wrong, because I would have liked to have heard Taz speak in his WWE run based on some of the stuff we've seen.
Me too.
I think he could have added quite a bit to his character.
Just as soon as he opens his mouth, you believe the character.
Yeah.
Strange. Anyway, Taz gets taken away. Douglas gets helped to the back by his triple threat buddies, and Bam Bam stays in the ring for what can only be described as a masterpiece versus New Jack. So we know what we're getting here. New Jack. We've got some gangster rap playing in the background. We've got a trash can full of all sorts of variety of weapons and hockey sticks, chairs, a guitar, a Godzilla action toy. They start off in the ring. It starts off violent. Sooner rather than later, they're out in the crowd. And that is when, yeah. So at some point, New Jack gets busted open the hard way, clearly, and there's a fuck ton of blood pouring from him. He's either banged his head at some point. At one point, he's lying on the floor and Bam Bam's just picking up the seats that are sat out in the arena and just leathering, like, one after the other, throwing them on top of his face with no sort of regard for how they're landing on him.
Yeah.
Which was pretty messed up. So I don't know if it's there. I don't know if he got slammed. At one point he's crawling into the crowd. There's kids in the crowd. He's covered in blood. He's walking towards them. Must be thinking, what the hell? So take us through what then transpires.
Well, I've got some notes about this. So I've got, maybe I was too negative going in because my first line of notes is this is going to be a shit show. And then, so after the weapons have been used, there's a point where I think New Jack must have got bloodied just as they're maybe going out of over the guardrail and things like that. And then it just proceeds to get worse. He's bleeding more and more and more. So I've got New Jack being a bloody mess. And the bit I think I messaged you about this in the week. There's a bit I felt hugely uncomfortable. Quite a few bits in this match that I felt hugely uncomfortable about. And you know when you think, well, there was chair shots to the head and all that, and at the time we weren't that bothered, but now looking back we're a bit like, just don't like the way they looked. But New Jack goes up to the bleachers, and he does not look like he knows where he is at all. And there's a point where so his plan is, because Bam Bam's down on the ground level and he's going to jump off and land on Bam Bam. There's a point when I genuinely thought New Jack was just going to fall because he looked so out of it. And I thought, is he, concussed or something like that? But it's probably the kind of thing where the match would now just be stopped because somebody would look and think, yeah, we actually need to get a doctor to check him. But Bam Bam does come down and the match continues and all that, and he does not look like he has a clue where he is. Just really horrible to watch. I actually wrote, he's either amazing at selling how out of it he is, or this just should not be happening. And I assume he's not brilliant at selling.
It takes him an age to get up there. He's climbing up the stairs on his hands and feet. And Bam Bam Bigelow stood about, like, looking about, and Joey Styles on commentary saying, Bam Bam doesn't know where he is. He's like, that way where, like, when somebody goes to the outside and then somebody bounces off the ropes and the person on the outside has to be, like, looking about for 2 seconds. Bam Bam's doing that for about up to a minute.
Yeah.
As New Jack drags his body up the stairs and then sort of zombie walks along until he's above him. Some person in the crowd offers him a guitar. Was that Jeff Jarrett up there? Why did he have a guitar in the crowd? He comes. He certainly doesn't dive on Bam Bam Bigelow. He walks until the ground's no longer underneath his feet.
Yeah.
And crashes to the floor.
Yeah.
And does he even hit him with the guitar? No, he just kind of.
I think Bam Bam kind of tries to manufacture that he did, but I don't think he did.
So he's lucky he's fighting Bam Bam Bigelow, because Bigelow basically picks him up and carries him the sort of 30 feet they are away from the ring, rolls him up onto the stage and carries him to the ring, pins him, and that's it.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. You gave me some info about this after the event, and I can't say it was the most surprising thing that I've ever read.
So it said in an interview later on he was quite remorseful about it, I think. And he said he'd been snorting cocaine, he was high on cocaine during this match, and that's why he was a lot of it was that he was just completely gassed by the time he'd even got out to the ring. So I know you'd kind of thought that you feel a little bit less for him after hearing that information.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Bam Bam and, I don't know, you become aware, or maybe you've seen it in the back before it started and all that, you're probably pretty pissed off because the most important thing is that you don't endanger the safety of your opponent. And if a guy's going out there, coked out of his mind, how can you realistically do that? I've no doubt Bam Bam can look after himself. I've always thought, when you talk about, wrestlers having a presence or something like that, like imagine running into that guy at an airport is something that's quite often asked. And I always think I would be genuinely scared shitless if I saw Bam Bam Bigelow. Like, he's massive, he's got the head tattoo and all that. He looks like he could take care of himself.
Definitely. I think, I've not looked into it, I'm sure he's been in like shoot fights in Japan and all that sort of stuff. Bam Bam. This is the second time we've seen him on ECW pay-per-view, and I've thought he would fit in WWF at this point in time. Mm-hmm. There must have been a spot in there somewhere for him that I don't know. Like they've got quite a depleted roster.
Yeah,
I think he would have fit in somewhere, but obviously I don't know if he burned his bridges with WWF or whatever.
I'd heard. I'm sure it was Bruce Pritchard speaking about him previously, in that he's one of these guys that everyone liked him and all that, but he would get to a point where I think the phrase was used was that he kind of became his own worst enemy. So he'd be going along well and nicely and everything all good, and then all of a sudden he'd be like, well, why am I at the top of the card? Why am I getting a bigger push? And he'd start questioning everything, and then it would come to a point where Vince would be like, his contract's coming up, just let him go, because I can't really be bothered with it. Yeah. And it is, you're right, 'cause he looks like he could have had a big role, but he's maybe, just irritated too many people.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
So we go from that mess to the quintessential stud muffin in the ring. Your boy, Joel Gertner.
Yeah.
We've got the Dudley Boys featuring, I can't remember, Bubba Ray Dudley and Devon. We've also got Big Dick Dudley in there and Sign Guy Dudley.
Yeah.
Right. They're taking on the team of Sandman and Fuck Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah.
Is that his name? I think it is. Just double checking. He's got a new name after that episode of what's it called? Dark Side of the Ring. Yeah,
he's not done himself any favours there. I love Joel Gertner's intros and all that, and he always comes up with something that makes me laugh. Like he describes himself as the innovator of vocabulary going up against the innovator of violence. There's a bad joke about the ladies call me Flintstone because I make their bed rock and things like that. But I just find him funny. And then those dastardly, I'm going to call them heels, Sandman and Dreamer, came out and interrupted him. He'd only just got started.
I know. And we saw it the last pay-per-view, and I think it was probably the highlight of our viewing of that pay-per-view. It was brilliant. He was really funny, wasn't he?
Yeah, I always wondered if Vince McMahon must have thought about the idea of bringing him when they signed the Dudleys. Because at the time, they were saying some pretty risky stuff on their own programs. And I would have thought Vince would have loved the thought of giving him a mic.
And we spoke this last time about Big Dick Dudley.
Yeah. That guy's massive.
Aye, and he can go.
Yeah.
From the looks of it, I mean, we've seen him do 2 or 3 moves, but it looked like he could go.
Yeah, so it's a little bit surprising they only went for the duo. I mean, it worked out pretty well for all involved.
True.
But yeah, it's surprising.
Sandman and Fuck Tommy Dreamer this is Undertaker levels of entrance time.
Yeah.
Like, I get Sandman's this crazy beer swilling, like, kendo stick guy smashing. Yeah, we love it because it's extreme and he's hitting his face with a beer can. We get it. He's fucking shite in the ring though.
Yeah.
They're talking about him having a neck injury. The guy looks like he's been in a fucking traffic accident. His neck looks fucked. I don't think. Do you know if that was legit or?
There must have been something. I think I don't know exactly what, but yeah, something didn't look right.
His neck was like straight as a die. It was really weird. And
yeah,
the Dudleys end up bringing the barricade in. One of the barricades into the ring and slamming him on it. And fuck Tommy Dreamer, just sort of like, he looks really pissed off and throws it away. Sandman gets... I've never seen a match where somebody's being put on a stretcher, meanwhile the match is just going on and people are being thrown about inches away from somebody with a neck injury.
Yeah.
That made me laugh.
Yeah.
It was actually Sandman that brought the guardrail into the ring, so...
You reap what you sow?
Absolutely. So we get Little Spike Dudley coming out to help out Dreamer.
There seems to be no... I don't know. I've thought this for a few matches. There's no rules. It's just, Sandman's out of commission, so Spike is just allowed to become Tommy Dreamer's new partner. I don't know. I just thought it was... unusual.
Remember, this is... You need to do it. This is...
Extreme!
All sorts can go on.
Yeah, fair point.
What's the whole Spike Dudley acid gimmick? Like, obviously he's called Little Spike Dudley, LSD. He comes... He's got the tie-dye stuff on. I think his bulldog thing's called the acid drop. What's that all about?
I never really joined the dots on that.
Is it just extreme?
I remember thinking his outfit was quite something, but I never really thought any more about it, and I don't know if the name of the move really caught my ear. So yeah, I kind of missed that as a thing.
What did they used to call the Dudley Dad when they were? Did they used to, when they were in WWF, did they used to refer to the dad as Big Dick Dudley? Or old... Oh, fuck knows.
I'm not sure. I can't remember. I remember they had... I didn't think it was Big Dick, but it could have been. Maybe there was a plan at one point and then they...
For him to come in as the dad.
Yeah.
I was just going to say maybe he dropped a little Spike Dudley on his head or something. So he comes in and does his... Bubba takes a hell of a bump onto the guardrail with one of those bulldogs. But wouldn't you know it, lo and behold, that asshole, the Sandman, returns with a fucking neck brace on, swinging his cane about like an idiot. Rattles both the Dudleys. And I think they win, aye.
Yeah. I feel like the Dudleys didn't actually win that many matches. Like... It's really weird because they went to WWF and became one of the greatest tag teams we've seen. They were in these matches with two other awesome teams, but they were sort of portrayed as, these guys have won belts all over the place and all that. But like watching them in ECW, it kind of feels like they didn't win many matches. It's strange. Like I Dreamer and Sandman, I know, like, Sandman was massively over with the crowd for the entrance and all that, and he is clearly a guy that it just wouldn't have worked anywhere else. And I'm pretty sure it didn't, because I think he went to WCW for a while. God. And I think just did nothing. And I think they were like, well, no, he can't do an intro where he's bashing himself in the head with a beer can and bleeding all over the place.
Comes out with like a fresh orange carton.
And it's maybe just if he's not got his intro, that's kind of game over.
Yeah, take away the cane and the beer and enter Sandman and see how he gets on.
Yeah, I love the fact that they just, we don't get to hear it now, but they just played whatever music they wanted. They didn't worry about trying to, license it or get approval or anything like that. They're playing Metallica. There was another really prominent one that slipped my mind now. that someone had.
Walk by Pantera. RVD
Yeah.
used to come into.
Yeah, and they weren't paying for any of that. They're just playing it.
See if we can slip by with it.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we don't get to hear those entrances on the network.
No. We get generic rock song number 3 and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So up until now, this has been fairly mediocre. But we've got what looks on paper to be an absolute barn burner, as JR would say. Coming up next, we've got the ECW World TV Championship between RVD and Sabu.
Yeah.
You don't need to... I'll start that again. They give us a really good TV package on how this has come about, with all the various ways that RVD and Sabu, who have been a tag team, who are sort of stable mates with Bill Alfonso, their manager, and managing them both. And they've started sort of similar to Candido and Storm. They're working together, but they're kind of feuding, and it's breaking down more and more. I particularly like the match where Sabu was pinning someone on a 2 count and RVD threw in the towel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we've got a kind of breakdown in the relationship between them. We've got Bill Alfonso between them, and he's saying that he's going to manage both guys. This should have been a really good match, but to me, I feel like, again, it's like totally overbooked.
Yeah.
It went on for probably double the length it probably should have, in my opinion. It's just overkill. Slap you in the face with something that you like, sort of thing.
This was probably the standout when you look at the card and you're thinking, what am I looking forward to on here? It didn't really deliver for me. Like you say, a good package setting you up. You know, you didn't need to have been watching all the hardcore TVs to know where we were. Mm-hmm. The sort of intrigue of the Bill Alfonso element, and I thought, well, these guys, you know, Sabu is ridiculous to watch. He's really entertaining. You know, you have no idea what you're going to see. He's going to do something crazy. Mm-hmm. RVD, who was one of my favourite performers to watch, really innovative, athletic, just had this sort of charisma about him as a performer as well. But yeah, it kind of fell flat for me, this one.
Yeah, me too. I think I was saying about overbooked. I think the Alfonso aspect of it, take that away, and you would still be looking forward to watching RVD v Sabu. However, it was a good wee dynamic to throw in. However, that was completely overplayed. He was in the sort of the shot a lot more than what you needed him to be. The fucking whistling does my boxing, but he does that regardless. But the whole thing of him being, you know, I'm going to win regardless because I'm managing both guys, it just comes across as kind of heelish. I don't really know if that's what you want from him. I don't know. There's some good wee bits where, normally in a match, he would hold up the chair for RVD, whereas he pulled it away when RVD was going to hit Sabu, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think at some point during this match, Sabu is just completely gassed and just starts throwing chairs as his moveset.
Yeah. I think, going through the story of the match where they initially play it as, you know, RVD doesn't want to have the match. He's basically saying, I'm not going to fight my partner for your entertainment. He wants them to kind of, you know, have a draw or something like that, raise each other's arms. Ref pulls it down, and then Sabu kicks RVD, and it's kind of like, okay, so it's Sabu who really wants to have the match, wants to instigate things, wants to beat RVD and take the TV title. So it feels like he's the aggressor, and then RVD's forced into a reaction, and that's all fine. But it feels like that took quite a lot of time as well.
Yep.
There's like a few minutes of stalling before anything happens at all. I had accidentally, and I don't know if this impacted my enjoyment of it. But I knew this was ending in a time limit draw before I started watching, and I try not to do that. I try not to, look ahead and see, and I can't remember why, but I was just like looking at the Wikipedia page or something for the event, and I saw time limit draw. And then so I'm watching it, waiting for it to just go to a time limit draw. So that's not the best way to watch something and try and just take in everything that's going on. So I've ruined that a little bit for myself.
Here's a tip for listeners. If you're ever watching the main event at WrestleMania 12, don't check what happens before you watch it.
Yeah. I mean, there's some, decent moments. Like, I actually, as we were going through the match, because much as I knew how it was going to finish, I didn't know how the dynamic between the three was going to go as the match went. And I kept thinking that Alfonso seemed to be favouring Sabu.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And I didn't know whether that was going to go somewhere towards the end, but it never really...
It was weird, eh?
Yeah. Because I get that became the thing I was waiting for.
Like a double cross or something like that.
Yeah, and something to sort of permanently remove RVD from Alfonso, and then you can go where you need to go from then on. But it was bubbling, and then nothing really happened.
No, and like there's with them two, there's going to be amazing moves, and we did get them, but they were kind of sprinkled in between. Not very much going on, and obviously that if they know they're going 30 minutes and they're padding it out, like you said, at some point Sabu does a Hurricane Rana whilst RVD's on the guardrail.
Yeah,
it's just unbelievable.
Yeah,
we've got tables on the outside the ring. Sabu running across, bouncing off the top, like jumping off the top rope onto the table, into the crowd, on the RVD. There's some great stuff. But stick that in a 15-minute match, and it's sticking a 12-minute match, and you've got match of the night, no problem. It felt to me with some of the stuff that we've had before, the Shane Douglas promo, the Legends appreciation. It felt like this pay-per-view was being stretched out for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I wonder, because how the hardcore TV show is essentially like highlights from the pay-per-view. I wonder if they've like got a really good highlights package of this match rather than actually watching through the match.
Man, should just watch the wee hour show the night after. might have looked like a really good pay-per-view.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're going, as we've mentioned, to a time limit draw. There are some good moves. It's not that, it's a match where nothing happens. There's plenty going on. It just doesn't grab you. And then we've got, seemingly they're both kicking out of things that, when they both look like match ending sequences. But they're kicking out. They're trying to, I think, keep both quite strong. I'm assuming they want to go somewhere with this program. There's some RVD's moves I always think just look amazing. And when you once you get to them in the match, I'm thinking, that looked brilliant and all that. But yeah, too long. I totally agree with you. And I think they could have had a really good 15-minute match.
Yeah. The 5-star frog splash he hits on Sabu's who's on the table is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And to your point about the beautiful moves, he hits a monkey flip from the turnbuckles in the middle of the ring on a steel chair. It just looks amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a shame. I was looking forward to it, but it just did not do what we were hoping it to do.
We got when the bell rings and the time's expired, the fans are chanting, "We want more." I wasn't really with them on that. I was ready to move on.
It was weird. We had a similar thing happen in AEW. Was that just last week, the week before, where Omega and Bryan Danielson went the 30-minute time limit, and similar happened in the, I think just before in the Omega Danielson match, you had a guy saying 45 seconds left, like, was it Justin Roberts saying 45 seconds left? And you kind of know where it's going.
Yeah.
With this, you didn't get that. You just get the bell out of nowhere, and the fans are just left. I wouldn't imagine the fans know how long they've been wrestling or whatever.
No.
And the fans are just left pissed off. It's a really weird way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you have any idea how this was ending as you were watching it?
As it was going on and they were kicking out each other's moves, I kind of had an inkling that they were going to go. And I think Styles said something on the commentary. I don't know if I had in my head, in WCW, they have the 20-minute limit for the TV title match. Don't know if I had that in my head, but Styles said something in commentary. I was like, all right, okay, we're going to a draw then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we get our fourth update, just to bang you over the head that Shane Douglas is in fact injured. I was intrigued by was it a broken palate or a fractured palate? That sounds sore, Shane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he legit had a couple of injuries. And fair play. I really assumed watching this, he's legit injured. He's going to drop the title. He's going to put up such a valiant fight that people can't help but sort of grudgingly respect, despite the fact he's been a bit heelish over the last few months. He's been the main heel on the show, but I had a very specific set in my mind how I thought this was all going to go down, and it didn't go anywhere near where I thought it was going.
Yeah, so we've got the ECW World Heavyweight Champion Shane Douglas coming out first. That's a pet peeve of mine. Why is the champion coming out first?
Yeah.
Coming out, and he's defending his title against Al Snow. Al Snow is ridiculously over, like Austin levels of over, with the ECW crowd. Everybody's got mannequin heads in the crowd, and they're making a really obscene noise. It sounds like a guinea pig or something. It's horrible. They're banging them together. You get that kind of plasticky, foamy, rubbing noise. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Snow's entrance is something. It's worth watching. I wonder what music he came out to, because we obviously didn't get to hear it.
Yeah.
It's probably the most impressive thing of the match, to be fair.
Yeah. I was wondering. Like, I've written in my notes, my God, these heads in the crowd. This is insane, and it is like, it's so funny to think about it, but it is like it's Austin level.
Aye, definitely
crazy.
Definitely. I mean, at some point, obviously the euphoria of Al Snow coming out wears off, because at one point he's on his hands and knees taking a move, and somebody throws one in the crowd and it bangs off his head. He gets hit in the head by head. Yeah. He gets head from the crowd?
Yeah, well...
Damn it, that's what I should have said.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to have to start over.
Damn it. At one point when they're starting off, people are just launching them in the ring. It's ridiculous. This is... I mean, if they're really building Shane Douglas up to be that injured, then why do they not just have this as to be a squash or something? Yeah. Like, have Bam Bam and Candido come in and hammer Al Snow and squash him and get it over and done with. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's not worth watching.
I kept thinking, I try to give, because I've seen a lot of good things from Shane Douglas. We've been impressed by him with some of the things we've seen previously. I kind of assume he's pretty limited, given the fact he's got these legitimate injuries, and maybe they can only have a certain style of match. He does take some offensive moves from Al Snow, but the one thing that kept going through my mind, and especially when we got to the finish, was what impact is this having on Al Snow? Because you've basically got your champion who's injured. who is being portrayed as the underdog. Not only is he hurt, he's had a beat down by Taz partway through this card. And Al Snow still doesn't go over. So, I mean, is he just no good? And he's so over with the crowd that this is surely the opportunity to crown him as your champion. You've got a ready-made story for when Shane Douglas comes back. He was hurt.
Yeah.
He'd every reason to have a rematch when he comes back. I just couldn't understand this at all.
And you and I discussed this before. This is Al Snow's last match. I don't know if I think he's still contracted to WWF, but he's on loan.
Right.
I think he's on loan at ECW. This is his last match. If that's the case, have him beat Shane Douglas, then have Taz come out and take the title off him. You've got a ready-made storyline for Shane Douglas coming back to take the title back off Taz or whatever.
And I think we know, certainly through the majority of years, the relationship between Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon was pretty good. Mm-hmm. I imagine he could have made a phone call and said, look, I know Al Snow's going back to you on this date. I need to put the title on him. Can I, book him for these shows after the event? I don't think Vince McMahon would have batted an eyelid about that. I think, didn't they lend Taz to ECW to take the belt off? Was it Mike Awesome?
Mike Awesome, right.
Yeah. So they could have worked something out, I'm absolutely sure.
It sounds like Vince was bankrolling ECW for quite a long time, so I think they were always supportive of ECW being in business.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's odd, isn't it? It's really odd.
It would have been good for Vince as well. I mean, if they announced they've just signed the ECW World Champion, you can work with that. There's things you can do with it.
Bring him back and give him a job squad gimmick.
Yeah.
That's what you want. I wonder if he had the head gimmick before he was in ECW. I don't know enough. I know was he not a character called Avatar or something like that?
Oh, something like that. That rings a bell. Yeah.
Avatar. But it's not like they're bringing Al Snow back in to go in with Austin.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird. It does feel like Paul Heyman's got Shane Douglas posters on his wall and he kisses him goodnight because this pay-per-view is just built around him. Unbelievably, I've got here, poor Francine gets snowplowed. The abuse to women on this show is unbelievable. Unbelievably, Shane Douglas goes over clean. I've not written down how it even finished. I've just wrote, oh my goodness, Douglas. That's a clean version. Douglas goes over clean.
I've got a few notes.
Go for it.
We've had Candido and Bam Bam and Francine getting involved, and then you've got that snowplow that you mentioned on Francine. Francine, there's a distraction element. We've got Douglas hitting a belly to belly suplex on Al Snow.
That's right.
For a 2 count. Joey Styles really sells this. Yeah. I mean, to me, it just looked like your standard belly to belly. But it sounded
it was closer to the sort of belly to belly for me. It looked pretty devastating to me.
So it's sold, and I'm thinking, okay, it's coming. Al Snow's going to win because he's kicked out of the move that normally the champ puts people away with. Yeah. We've got a few more bits and pieces we've got a high crossbody from Al Snow on Douglas. He rolls through for a pin attempt. Snowplow by Al Snow, but it's a 2 count. We've then got the snowplow on Francine, which you mentioned previously. Candido taking a hit from Head. We've got Balls and Axel coming out to stop any more interference by Candido and Bam Bam. We've got a sunset flip attempt by Al Snow, but he doesn't hit it right. Shane Douglas sits down on his arms and hooks the legs for the pin and the win. And then we've got the ring just filling with heads. We do have I can't remember if this was shown on the pay-per-view or only on the hardcore TV, but we've got Shane Douglas and Al Snow being raised on the shoulders of all the wrestlers and them shaking hands at the end and after the pay-per-view goes off air. So
yeah, that's in the pay-per-view. So at some point, the locker room begins to sort of stand around the ring in a lumberjack match type way.
That's right.
For some odd reason, there's no any sort of mention as to why that's happened. It's not like this has went 30 minutes or we're in 29 minutes and this has been an absolute epic Bret Hart versus Owen Hart WrestleMania 10 sort of match here. We've got like you say, Shane Douglas gets that sort of cheap pin, clean pin, and it gets the win. All the ring is filled with the ECW roster. I don't know if that's because Heyman said they're going to hate Douglas going over here. That ring's going to get littered with those mannequins. Get out there and shield them. I don't know, we've heard in the past, in the old territory days when the big baby face got beat and you got people try to jump the barricade, and I don't know if Heyman's expecting something like that, but based on the size of some of the guys that you can see in the front row there, I didn't see them getting over the barricade. But the ring is littered with head, as you say, and both men are lifted up on their shoulders like they've been through some sort of epic match. Yeah,
that was the thing that really bugged me, because I've seen it. It's happened a few times before. Like you mentioned WrestleMania 10, and it happens when Bret wins the belt. But it's all the baby faces.
All the faces, that's right.
That come out, and there's kind of a reason for it. There's a story reason for it, because you then get Owen looking furious on the ramp, and he's saying, "Well, I beat him earlier. This should be my night." All that kind of thing. I couldn't think of a story reason for this and why it happened. And you maybe are supposed to think, oh God, Shane Douglas, he's injured, he's been tazzed, he's managed to fight on valiantly and retain. You've got Al Snow, who's come so close but failed. But none of it, to me, adds up to the locker room emptying out and them lifting them on the shoulders. And I'm not sure about if Al Snow's leaving, I suppose the sort of acknowledgement between the two doesn't really do any harm, but it doesn't really do anything. For me, you want to, even if he's going to be not wrestling, and I don't know if he's off TV, Shane Douglas, because sometimes guys are having surgeries but they're still on TV. Surely you'd want to keep him heel, because he's been your biggest heel on the show. I just couldn't figure any of it out.
You also can't turn him face whilst the rest of his faction are behaving like heels the rest of the show.
It doesn't work.
We'll see where it goes, I suppose, when we pick this up. I think July or August is the next pay-per-view, so we'll see where they pick it up.
Okay.
ECW feels a bit like going to school on a Friday and the teacher's going to wheel out the video and the TV for you. That's what I felt like going into this, and by the end it just felt like it was just another normal day at school.
So you felt like you were going to get an easy time of it. It was all going to be just fun, enjoyment, and then you realised that maybe it's not that different.
Yeah. I think we're very quickly seeing that perhaps Wrestling 1998 was maybe there are some rose-tinted glasses here, Adam. What do you think?
I just think maybe if I hadn't been like 17, maybe I would have just thought this was all trash. Because every, I think, there's probably been more good on the WWE side than the WCW side. There's been quite a lot of good, but we're very aware the roster's pretty limited. The WCW side, we've had one good show in 3 or something like that, which doesn't sound that bad, but some of it's been awful. And I knew in ring some of the ECW shows weren't going to be the best, but when I'm looking at them thinking that my favourite match was a tag match between Candido and Storm and what were they called? What was the name of the team the hardcore chair swinging freaks. Yeah, that maybe tells its own story.
Yeah, I feel like what we're. It's funny because when you were the age that we were when these shows were on, the sort of edgy, hardcore element was really cool.
Yeah,
because it was different. Now, you know, like from what we were used to as far as your Hogans and Warriors and cartoon characters, Suck It and all that sort of stuff is cool. Now at the age that we're at, like, we've been hardcore to death. That's since like really
speak for yourself.
Yeah, I hope Mum and Dad never saw that on the TV bill when I was young. But yeah, like we've been hit over the head so much with the attitude, the hardcore, like obviously death matches and all that sort of stuff, that we're now craving in-ring technicians like your Bret Harts and Benoits and Angles and Jerichos. And I feel like throughout this sort of 1998 journey that we're on, we're really enjoying those types of wrestlers and those types of matches. Like we just spoke about Lance Storm, like that sort of wrestler. Yeah.
I know at a point ECW had quite a lot of really skilled technicians. You know, they had Benoit and Guerrero at a point. I think Dean Malenko might have been there briefly.
I'm sorry. Just you saying skilled technicians, all I can think is Sandman standing and his neck looking like there's something seriously wrong with it. He's got a cigarette in his mouth. He's swinging a cane about. Sorry, go on.
No, that's all right. Jericho and people like that. And I think there was maybe variety at that point. You know, they would have a couple of them in a match together, and that would be your wrestling match. And then when you mix that in with some of the crazy hardcore stuff, maybe it just all becomes a bit more varied and palatable.
Yep.
Whereas when there's like, 6-7 matches on the card, and about 5 of them, maybe even more, are really over the top in terms of the violence element. It maybe just you kind of switch off to it and stop finding it interesting. So yeah, I think you're probably right about that, because right now when you first mentioned Owen v Brett, I was actually thinking, I really want to go back and watch Owen v Brett now.
Yep.
That's the match I want to watch, just to be such a contrast to what we've watched here.
Totally. And I think that's why I've been quite enjoying watching AEW recently, because I feel like storyline comes second, and not in all the cases, but in the majority of cases, story comes second, in-ring comes first. And with the 4 pay-per-view, is it 4 pay-per-views a year they're putting on? With that sort of format, then you get, like TV time isn't just run-ins and storylines and interviews and all that sort of stuff. It's you get really good matches on it.
Yeah.
I think that emphasis is almost going back to basics, isn't it?
I really like the fact that they've only got the 4 pay-per-views. I mean, that's kind of a game changer, because you can't. I think I was looking the other day at the network, and I think we're maybe up to the last 4 WWE pay-per-views that I haven't watched.
Okay.
And they're just constant. There'll be, I think we're on the point of one of the Saudi Arabia pay-per-view.
Right, okay.
I think that might be this weekend. But there's so much content.
Jesus.
And it's just not, well, I personally don't consider it worth watching just now. But it doesn't stop them from just churning it out and churning it out and churning it out. And nothing storyline-wise feels like it has the chance to breathe and develop over time, because they must always just be working to the next pay-per-view. Like, what's next? Okay, got to quickly put this together and all that. And it's almost exhausting as a viewer. I'm liking the fact that, because I've not been watching AEW TV, I usually have a look and see what the results were and things like that. But I do intend to watch the next pay-per-view. And it's far enough away for me to think, well, what could develop then? Well, you don't really know. Whereas when there's a pay-per-view every month, or even more frequent at times, you sort of know, right, these guys are going to have another match. And, you know, if there's something fresh about AEW that WWE just doesn't have.
I think you hit the nail on the head as far as oversaturation. Like, I think probably the last WWE pay-per-view that we've even talked about was that last WrestleMania. And we were gushing about Roman Reigns at that time. And I've certainly not seen a lot between then and now, but from what I have seen, it just seems like on SmackDown it's just Roman Reigns skits or Paul Heyman or whatever all the time.
Yeah. And
they're doing that. I did see a back and forward between him and John Cena when John Cena was back on, and it's all like wink, wink, you know, like what do they call it? Going through the fourth wall. What's the phrase?
Breaking the fourth wall.
Breaking the fourth wall, and talking about the Bellas, and it's just all a bit like, all right, trying to be edgy but still being PG, and it's just all, and you obviously you know that John Cena's only going to be there for a few weeks. He's probably going to wrestle a pay-per-view, and you'll never hear from him again for a couple of years. And then I seen Goldberg was on. I saw on Instagram Goldberg and Bobby Lashley were going to be fighting probably for the Saudi Arabia pay-per-view. I mean, Goldberg must be mid-50s.
Yeah.
At least.
I'm sure that when he signed a deal, was it not like he does like 3 matches a year or something? It seems like it's every year for the rest of his life.
That's the new Legends contract. Wrestle till you're dead.
There can't be anyone that's wanting to see that now. I mean, he nearly killed Undertaker. And that kind of should have been it. You know, you just move on from that and you say, right, we're done. We'll keep paying you your Legends deal. We might have you come out and say a few words now and then, but that's it.
It's really odd. Like even Drew McIntyre, who did a really good job of sort of carrying things, I felt, when they were in that point of the pandemic hitting and going into lockdown, and I think at that point he'd just taken the belt off. He took the belt off Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 36.
Yeah.
He did a really good job with on their TV programs. I felt, talk at the camera and all that sort of stuff. And you see him now, and he's coming out with a kilt on. He's got a giant sword, and it's just all like, oh man. I'm not interested in watching that at all. They just over-egg everything.
Yeah.
To the point of, like you said, oversaturation. I've no idea how we've gotten onto this, but I do like it.
Yeah.
Whereas you see, and it could just be that sort of, the new sort of bias of seeing the likes of CM Punk and Bryan Danielson now and Adam Cole, and it's fresh, and you see new people versus new wrestlers and all that sort of stuff. It could just be that. But I just think there's literally nothing I don't think that WWE could do to sort of stop that momentum.
Yeah. I don't see me being back as a viewer. And I don't know what it would take to do that. We've talked about, you know, limited pay-per-views and letting storylines breathe, but they're not going to go back. There kind of is no turning back from where they are, not with the revenue streams they've got and all that. And these shows are obviously hugely important to it. But yeah, I don't know, it stopped being in any way interesting, which is a shame, because I do worry I'm missing out on some really high quality Roman Reigns stuff, but it's probably the only thing I'm missing out on.
Well, I don't know if the only thing I've seen recently was Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor, which was the main event of their most recent pay-per-view, Extreme Rules. Have you seen any of that?
No.
They did this really weird thing. So Finn Balor's demon character is undefeated. You know, like when he taps into that side of things, as Michael Cole likes to say. he's undefeated as the Demon, so they have the Demon challenge for the title. So in the build-up package, you've basically got Roman cutting promos and Finn Balor coming out as the Demon on SmackDown. So you're kind of removing all that sort of like the sort of the big show dynamic of his character. You're using that for SmackDown and all that. Anyway, they had them go back and forward. You never think Roman Reigns is going to drop the title. He's had it for over a year now. They're not going to drop it. He's not going to drop it to Finn Balor.
Yeah.
They had Roman Reigns down the ground. Balor's on the top rope. They do this big whole cinematic thing where all the lights go down and his red smoke starts coming up from the ground, and he's this like dramatic orchestral music's playing and all that, and he's standing on the top rope like he's going to do his thing, and the top rope snaps and he falls off the ropes and Roman wins.
Do you think whoever was most invested in the Demon character or the Fiend behind the scenes in the writers' rooms just been getting a little bit itchy and thinking, I need to get some of my stuff on here again. Here we go.
That's maybe it's so weird. It's almost like I seen something the other day saying that they've started. I think it was Meltzer was saying that they're basically training their audience to enjoy the out of the ring stuff and taking breaks during the matches and coming back during the matches, whereas they won't take any breaks during any sort of promo or backstage or anything like that. It's almost like they're wanting to go into something different, and it's always been sports entertainment and all that, but there's always also been there's obviously always been the wrestling aspect to it.
Yeah.
I wonder if the pandemic and cinematic matches and all that's just maybe made, like Vince has always said I had this thing about it being an entertainment show and not a wrestling show. I wonder if...
Yeah, he's always been... It's like he's a little bit ashamed of the fact that the only real area he's had success has been wrestling.
Yeah.
But everything else they've done, as far as I'm aware, has kind of lost money. XFL, the movies, all that. So I don't know, maybe just try to improve what you're actually successful at. But I don't know. I mean, the cinematic matches, the opportunity was there to do it because they couldn't have a live crowd.
That's a workaround, basically.
Yeah, and that's gone now. We've got live crowds again. So I don't see how it can work. I just want them to stay away from that side of thing. It's peaked, it's gone. Just try and rescue your show. Get
back to basics, and people might actually be entertained by something. Like John Morrison, for example, is a really good wrestler. Stick him somewhere else, stick him in AEW or something like that. He'd probably be having really good matches.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you the whole time I'd been watching it for that period before seeing him in a match. Yeah. Apart from like fucking zombies or whatever it was that was on that pay-per-view that time.
Oh dear.
That's mad. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But aye, we'll I'm sure we'll get put right back in our box. I'm just thinking we've not long been reviewing a show where the Undertaker was shooting lightning bolts out his hands and all that. So.
Yeah, fair point. I was just going to say to you, do you know what's next? Because I don't.
I do. I'll talk you through it if you like.
Excellent.
Over the Edge 1998.
Okay.
We have got a continuation of the McMahon storyline with Austin. Do you remember Briscoe was guest ref in Mr. McMahon? He was guest ref in one of those matches. Well, we're taking it up a level because Vince is going to be refereeing a match between Austin and Dude Love for the title. Okay. We are going to continue the Rock Farouk feud for the Intercontinental title. We're going to get that match.
Okay.
What else we got here? DX versus The Nation. Oh, 6-man tag team match. I guess we'll have Owen in that match.
Yeah.
So we're kind of probably getting the shift into DX being faces here, I would guess.
Yeah, yeah.
WWE honours Mad Dog Vachon and The Crusher.
Oh.
Obviously just copying ECW.
Sounds like it, yeah.
As I like to say, we start with a banger, Adam. LOD 2000 versus the DOA.
Now, if it's LOD 2000, Sonny must still be affiliated with them.
Correct.
That's fine.
That's all right.
Yep.
We get the grudge match that we've all been waiting for. Jeff Jarrett versus Steve Blackman.
Oh, no, not this Jeff Jarrett. Still, not this one.
This one, yeah. Ain't I great?
Oh.
Mark Mero versus a mystery opponent. Don't know who that could be.
Okay.
Kai and Tai versus Bradshaw and Taka Michinoku.
Yes.
There's a match.
I'm in. Because
wasn't Taka Michinoku in Kai and Tai?
Yeah, but there was this whole thing where Taka joined WWE first, and then the rest of these Kai and Tai guys turn up and they've got some heat, some history with Taka. So they've been interfering in his matches. And then I think Bradshaw bailed them out at one point, so they then started interfering in Bradshaw's matches as well.
Dastardly.
Yamaguchi-san or something like that. It's like the manager guy. I'm sure he was I chop off your pee-pee man a little bit further down the line.
Excuse me?
Do you remember this?
No, clearly not.
That segment with Val Venus.
No, but I hope we get to it.
I was just thinking, is that this year? Because if it is, you're in for a treat.
Oh, amazing. They have been teasing Val Venus joining on the Raws that we've been watching. So
yeah, well, there's an issue with I think it's the manager's wife and Val Venus, and then he doesn't take too kindly to this situation.
Yeah. And what is undoubtedly going to be the match of this pay-per-view: Kane versus Vader, mask versus mask match.
Oh.
Can't wait to see what Vader looks like underneath that mask.
I think
that's odd.
See, I know you've been a Vader guy. I just don't think I am. I think my favourite version of Vader was when he was the bully guy's dad in Boy Meets World. I think that was that. It's quite a niche reference.
I like that.
We are the middle-aged outlaws, so it fits.
That's brilliant.
I don't need to see another Kane and Vader match.
Yeah, we've had one already, haven't we?
Yeah, I think at the last pay-per-view we did Vader not make his return at the end of the Inferno match?
Oh, aye, that's right.
Yeah, so this must be the kind of payoff for that.
Oh dear, poor Leon. There's a really good Vader match. I want to say it's Halloween Havoc 1997. Mankind versus Vader. Maybe it's 95.
Mm-hmm.
That's his masterpiece. If you want a good Vader match, watch that one.
Noted.
That's what me and the guys say at the Vader Appreciation Society.
Yeah, so only a few of you kicking about.
Just me. So that's what we've got. That sounds all right. Yeah,
that sounds fine. I'm glad we're not immediately going back to WCW. I've got a wee bit of time to prepare for that.
Yeah, I think. Nah, so that next pay-per-view is 31st of May. So the WCW one probably is before that, but we cannot go back to the WCW. Is it Slamboree maybe?
Okay.
So yeah, we'll do WWF and then we'll go back to WCW.
Cool.
So there we go. Another one in the books. We're getting there, Adam. We're not even halfway through the year. We have to start doing these daily or something.
Just give up the day job, do one of these every day, and then we can move on.
I really want to get to SummerSlam. And Survivor Series for that matter. I was looking to see when the Brood debut to see if we'd get any Gangrel in his class walk and music. So apparently SummerSlam, Edge debut, it makes his pay-per-view debut. Oh my God. His pay-per-view debut as a tag team partner for Jacqueline.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
Not really. No.
That's still 3 months away though, so let's not get too excited.
I was just thinking, see when you said Survivor Series?
Yes, Deadly Game.
Is that the Survivor Series? It is. It's the one I'm thinking of. It's the tournament one.
Yes.
Awesome. I look forward to getting to that. That's one of my favourite events.
We'll be there about 2023.
Oh, I'm in.
Join the Middle-Aged Outlaws in 2023 when we finally make it to November 1998.
It's going to be our best show ever,
We'll
so
be
stay tuned.
Wildly depressed and just be tearing into Hulk Hogan by that point. It's amazing to think that this is only 1998 and this is really only seen as the point where WCW started going downhill. Like started, just very slowly started.
There is the part of me that wonders, should I just on my own time go back and watch some like 96, 97? And then I got the fear, what if it was always a bit rubbish? Or through my eyes now, if it just isn't good? But then there's the other part thinking, it must have been. It must have had something. Until they,
it's dangerous thinking, Adam.
until they oversaturated the NWO and all that. When it first happened, it must have been amazing. Maybe one day I'll go back and rewatch some of that.
Well, you certainly won't be doing that as part of this podcast. I don't do that much.
No.
I've just, every time I think about WCW in the future, 1998, I just think of the Ultimate Warrior, and it makes me want to destroy my laptop. The One Warrior Nation.
But it can be quite therapeutic to just come on here and talk about everything that was shit.
This is true. We had a really good time talking about the Disciple.
Yeah.
Last time, so that's true.
So that's the positive spin I'm going to put on it.
I like that. I'll take that with me as I snuggle into bed tonight and think about Jim Hellwig. Hit us up on Instagram at Outlaws Pod. Follow us and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We would love that, wouldn't we, Adam?
Absolutely.
And we'll keep giving you some angry men shouting at cloud style podcasting. Until episode 23, where we'll be back with WWF, we will see you then. So take care and see you then. Cheers, Adam.
Thank you.